Welcome to the Check Your Head podcast, Mental Health for Musicians. My name is Mari Fong, and I'm your host. I'm a longtime music journalist and also a certified life coach for musicians. Today, I'm so excited because I have the Bloody Beetroots, Sir Bob Cornelius Rifo. I'm going to be telling his mental health story, and also Anthony and Melanie Clark of the Amazing Clarks, certified life coaches that will be also adding their advice, guidance, and support. Welcome, Anthony and Melanie, to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. We're so excited to be here.
Yep, definitely.
Yes.
Well, our podcast is about notable musicians sharing the mental health stories, their experiences, and their solutions. And I really appreciate you being on the podcast, especially with your background in music. Anthony, I know that you were a singer-songwriter and also had your own record label.
Yeah, I've been doing music since I was about 7 years old. I fell in love with music, and I grew up listening to all types of music, from Elton John to Journey to disco music to rap. And eventually I started doing my own music, songwriting, production, and we started a record label back in 2000, Penitentiary Funk Records, to put out my independent music, and still love music to this day. So one of the reasons why I'm really excited to be here as well. And it feels great to be back in the studio as well.
Well, I am glad that you shared that with me, because I know that's really going to add to the podcast with your insight as a musician. And Sir Bob will be telling a story about the touring life and the difficulties of touring, along with sharing the lowest point in his career and why he took a long break from music, and also how he regained his life back after some real challenges in his life. So because this episode is such a good one, we're going to split it into two parts, part one and part two. So let's listen to the first part of Sir Bob Cornelius Rifo of the Bloody Beetroots tell his story. I am so excited about my guest today, Sir Bob Cornelius Rifo of the Bloody Beetroots and also of SBCR. Huge in the electronic world, EDM, and I thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, guys. It's a real pleasure.
You know, we were talking about kind of your new mission. You know, one of the things with the podcast is that in 2017, we had kind of a string of musicians that hurt themselves. We had Chris Cornell of Soundgarden and Audio Slave. We had Chester Bennington of Linkin Park shortly after. And then we had AVICII, Tim Bergling. And at that time, you know, I have gone through my own challenges, and I know how difficult it is, you know, when you're in a dark place. And it inspired me to do something, and this is why I have this podcast. So I wanted to know, you know, you're starting to talk with other musicians and people up and coming about mental health and the importance. What first inspired you to speak out?
Well, I think when AVICII died, you know, something happened in me. I really want to try to help, because I saw the documentary. I did a lot of touring with AVICII, you know, in Australia. We shared a lot of stages together. So I said to myself, I really want to help, you know, seeing what that guy was being through. And then I started speaking out, you know, about my experience and about, you know, my knowledge in the music business, because it's a crazy business. And so I'm just starting, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, I applaud you for that. And it's good to know that AVICII both kind of inspired us to speak out. I want to share a story with you, because the first time I saw you perform was at Coachella. And I had a friend of mine, you know, like I go to Coachella and I asked my friend, okay, who should I see? Who are you going to see? And he goes, the Bloody Beetroots.
Of course.
What is the Bloody Beetroots? I said, but I remember that. I go to your show and
That's pretty crazy, huh?
was so blown away because I call it a tidal wave of energy. And that was one thing that really stood out that I could never forget. And, you know, music, that kind of energy that you're giving out doesn't always happen, but it's very healing.
Well, yeah, that's the Bloody Beetroots, you know. And but you know, the more energy you have, the more energy you can have back, and that's pretty. You know, it's my point. You know, building yourself with that kind of energy, it's the game. It's just there. You know, if there's lack of energy, lack of personality, lack of everything, people can feel that, and will never get back to you. So that's my key, you know, in my career. And to build the energy, you need to build yourself. And to build yourself, you cannot build yourself while you're touring, which is right straight to the point right now that, you know, you need to have a life out of the music world. You need to have different passions, different, you know, stuff to cultivate, friends, build something that is not in the music world to prepare to the music world.
I see.
You understand?
So almost like building a foundation before you really
Absolutely.
get into it.
Solid basis. Because without solid basis, you will never make it.
Okay. And what are some of the solid bases that you have for your life?
Well, discipline. I think it's a word that could work for everybody. So a strong discipline. And that's something that you cannot learn in one day. But you learn it during your routine, what you're doing during the day. Personally, to me, I have different passions. I have photography. I love fitness, so I train a lot. I'm also a CrossFit trainer. What else I have? Music, of course. I like reading books whenever I have the time to do it. But also, I love engaging with local people, you know. That's something that I just love it. Yeah, I have the opportunity as a musician to explore the world around myself. You know, whenever I have the chance to get out of my room while I'm touring, because I don't want to stuck in my room forever waiting for sound check or for the people to call me, I go out and engage with people, with local. I get to know the local bar, the local people, what they think, and that's life. That's life in the music business because you're still touring, but that's actually a part of yourself that you can build, you know.
Well, you know, I always felt like having random conversations with people can be the most interesting because
That's pretty cool.
You really don't know each other and you can kind of be very open because you may not ever see that person again. And then, you know, they're also probably spilling a lot of information to you that maybe they've never told anybody before.
That's very true. That's very true.
Okay, so that's
yeah, it's definitely a very interesting experience, you know.
well, that's a good way to stay connected. I wanted to get back to like the EDM world, electronic music, you know, in the clubs, the club scene. You know, right now you're living this healthy, balanced life, which does take a lot of discipline. But, you know, there was an earlier time where you're in the club and people are drinking and they're doing their drugs or so forth. I mean, was there ever a time where you kind of got swept up in that fast life?
Well, the first years were pretty tough, you know, because you know, the Bloody Beetroots became super successful at the moment that we got out. And at that time, we had a lot of power. Power that, you know, nobody teaches you that kind of power.
What
you
kind
have
of power?
everything you want.
What?
You have the drugs, the girls, you have everything you want. And
Yeah.
the money. And so it takes a little time to, you know, to understand what's going on. I mean, your life changes from day to another and say to yourself, oh, okay, can I use all this stuff now? What I'm going to do? So and that's the discipline I'm talking about, you know.
Yeah.
Try to understand what's good and what's not. And it takes time. You got to make mistakes. If you don't do mistakes, you will never understand what's valuable and what's not valuable, you know. So I guess the first years were, you know, kind of crazy. But I say just 3 years of my career were crazy. After that, I understood that this was becoming a real job. And I'm a performer. I need to entertain people in front of myself. They want to be entertained. So you got to be on top of your game no matter what. but also it's not only about the people in front of you. It's also about your team. You don't want to be a moron for your team, an idiot, just drinking and doing drugs all day long. You gotta be the captain of your ship because you guide them. You have a vision, and you need to make people passionate about your vision.
Well,
And that's really important. That's really important for an artist to have a strong crew, because a strong crew, whenever you're sad or you have some problems, some bad waves, they can help you. But if you don't teach them if you don't behave the right way, because there's a right way to behave on tour and in the music business, they will never help you. They will never follow your guidance. They will never cover your back when you're down.
One thing I've noticed, I'm sure you've noticed also, is that you see these great musicians that go out on stage and they're breaking guitars or they're, jumping around, they're jumping into the crowd, but oftentimes they're really introverts and they're very shy. And I'm wondering, what advice can you give a musician who is struggling to be a leader and to, maybe say no to some of the things that they're presented?
Well, I break a lot of shit as well. The thing is, they want to be a leader, but you cannot proclaim yourself a leader. The others proclaim you a leader. And a leader needs to have such qualities like loyalty, kindness, greatness, and once again, it takes discipline to build that yourself. You're an introvert, work on that. Because you're in this game, you need to stay with people, you need to interact. At the end of the day, you're performing for your audience.
Mm-hmm.
It's an exchange of energy.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to learn some way how to deliver yourself without struggles. And once again, I say, there's no way you're gonna build yourself on stage. It's all about the off-stage stuff that can build the basis for a stronger yourself. And the way you behave with the others, once again, delivers the man or the woman.
Now, it sounds like you have gone through a lot of experiences to get to where you are right now. You sound very wise.
A little bit.
But a lot of musicians stumble, right? They stumble into this idea of what fame is. And you were talking about your difficult years. What were some of the things that you found to be difficult or challenging during that time?
Well, fame is like a lightning bolt, and it's crazy because it's you cannot really have like a proper sight when that happens, just because there's so much going on and you can be lost some way. But if you're in, my advice for a young kid or young artist who's gonna experience this kind of crazy, fame, like 0 to 10, boom. I say, take a moment, see yourself from outside, and analyze what's going on around you. Don't go like full on. Take a breath, take a moment, analyze, think, and then make a choice.
Okay, so being very conscious.
Yes,
about
stop.
what you're doing.
Yes, stop for a moment. Because there's too much noise around, especially now with this crazy Instagram, society that we're living in. Mm-hmm. It's everything is very superficial. Everything can disappear in 1 second. Mm-hmm. And I don't want anybody, not to be conscious that that's gonna happen. It's gonna happen, because there's no structure in society now to make things that last. So stop for a moment. Work on your quality as a human being, and then make a choice.
I think that's part of it, is that when people don't stop, they keep going, they get overwhelmed. And then they get into trouble because then there's burnout that happens.
Absolutely.
And I remember reading about your time in 2014 where you felt empty, where you felt that you didn't have anything to say or express at the time. And, you kind of took a breather. And was that what was going on with you? Is just
Yeah, I needed
too much?
to take yeah, too much. You do like 250 gigs per year. It's crazy. Where is your life? And if you don't live your life, you have no inspiration for anything. And of course, you're not gonna be able to make any more music. You gotta stop. You gotta stop. And I understand everybody all around you are making money because you, and they don't want you to stop. They will never stop. As long as you go, they make money. But if you stop, they don't make money anymore. But you gotta understand that you are the artist. You are a business. If you're burned out, there's no business left. So once again, stop for a moment. Understand what's going on, and then decide. If you have no inspiration, you gotta come back with the inspiration. It means that you need time, quality time, and you cannot quantify that quality time, but you can feel it, because when the inspiration comes back, then that's the time you can rebuild everything you lost around. Does it make sense?
Yeah, because what you're saying is to rebuild, to recharge, and to take a break from the craziness of the music world, and it's go go go, and you need to sleep.
Absolutely.
And you need to stop and take care of yourself.
Absolutely.
And so during that time when you took a break, what were some of the changes that you made in your life to kind of restructure yourself?
Try to find out some other passions, like photography. I quit photography in 2012, and I missed that. But I quit because I was touring too much. I had no time to take pictures because I was completely concentrated and focused on, playing, moving, taking planes, and blah blah blah. I had to, rediscover where my passion were. So photography came back. I started again, taking pictures. And, I had quality time, staying with my family, my friends, just, life.
Mm-hmm.
Life out of the music business. But think about this, before you become a famous artist, a popular musician, all your structure is right there at home with all your dreams. And that's the most valuable fire that you have. And sometimes you gotta go back there, or you're just gonna burn out. But you gotta go there to rebuild yourself to your core.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's a place, maybe there's a family, maybe there's a situation. But anyway, you gotta go back there if you wanna rebuild something. Never forget that fire. Never forget where you started and how.
Yeah, that was one thing about touring. From the outside, it sounds so fun and glamorous and so forth, but the reality is that you're going to be gone sometimes months at a time away from everything that you love, including your family and your home and your dog and whatever it is that you love. And how would you suggest people go on tour and beyond connecting with others, making conversation? You talk about nutrition. How do you stay healthy on tour with nutrition and eating and lifestyle?
I do my best to follow a diet, like, as a CrossFit trainer, I always suggest to have a very healthy diet. I try to be consistent. I know it's hard, but it's not impossible. There's lots of people, oh man, I'm on tour, I gotta eat that shit. No, man. You can, the world is pretty filled with good food. You can find good food anywhere. Just matter of you, open your eyes and find that good food. It takes a little bit of effort. Yes, everything is art. Yes, as long as you know that, and as long as you teach yourself, it's art. Everything is art to do. Even eating. But you have a choice. Make it. It's it's still once again discipline. Discipline is a word that works for everybody in this business.
Yeah, and sometimes you're right. It is hard to do the right thing. And what happens sometimes, unfortunately, like Avicii, he, it's not a secret that he drank, and, other musicians can, take drugs and so forth. Sometimes they even think that it makes them more creative. I mean, what can you say about that?
I think drinking, like doing drugs, takes away the fear, because in a way, the substance absorbs you, and then you have less fear, and then they think you can perform better, because you feel a little bit high. And I think my position on that is, if you can control yourself, you can be higher. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't know if it makes sense in English, but when you control yourself, fully control yourself, and you can deliver a great performance on stage, that's 10 times better of doing that under substances.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my conclusion. I used to drink a lot of whiskey before, to give me like tone, and then to be a little, high. And I almost killed myself once,